Well, good morning everyone, and thank you for coming to the Icebreakers with a different session with RSVP Design. We're delighted that you've managed to come along this morning. Can I introduce Laura, who is one of our colleagues in Latvia today, who is going to take you through one of our products called expresspack. And also, can I introduce Kim at my right-hand side, who's going to take you through images of organisation. And at the end, I will take you through another icebreaker called workstations. Now, if you want to ask a question at any time, please unmute and just ask that question. We'll be delighted to hear from you. However, if you'd like to use the chat facility on Zoom, please use it. It's down the right-hand side, and we will answer to you pretty much straight away. But if there's anything that we cannot answer, we will get back to you and let you know what the answer is to that question that you may have. So delighted that you've come along today. So we're often asked here in RSVP Design for ideas about icebreakers, and you know, an icebreaker can be a really good, fun, engaging and collaborative activity which can really generate energy to start your training session. Now, we at RSVP Design try to get away from the obvious icebreakers and tend to focus on sort of memorable openings to a training session. And what we want to do is try to let people understand and address their learning needs and retain the subject matter. So, do you know, there's many benefits to a good icebreaker, and I'm just going to go through a list of some benefits that they can be to you. The benefits are that it builds trust between the learner and the trainer straight away. It's very quick. It establishes a way of working that both feel comfortable in. It allows the trainer and the learner to share experiences in a safe environment. And it also points your learners, a good icebreaker will point them towards the subject matter in the training for the latter part of your session. But more importantly, and most importantly, it gets a great beginning to your training session. So, I'm now going to pass over to Kim, who's going to take you through images of organisation.
Thank you, David. Okay, so as David said, I'm going to give you a little insight into one of RSVP Design's most popular image products called Images of Organisations. So this is a card-based product, and it's designed as metaphors to generate discussion about team and organisational issues. It can be used at the start of a training session where the delegates don't know each other. It can be used throughout a session to stimulate discussions, or at the end to reflect on the learning, perhaps looking at where they were at the beginning and where you are now. So I'm sure we've all been in that situation where we've been told, stand up, introduce yourself, say what you do, who you work for, and sometimes people can find it a little bit embarrassing, and it can make some people pretty uncomfortable. So why not use an image? Have your delegates speak about the image, and by doing this, they don't feel that they're speaking directly about themselves. They'll therefore sometimes volunteer information that they may otherwise have been kind of awkward to speak about or address. The cartoon style of these images is very accessible to everyone, and people can always relate to the images in the cards. It will open up all sorts of conversation and dialogue, and content that you'll have to move your training session forward is very valuable. This can set the tone for the rest of the session and the relationships that lie ahead, and it will also make the delegates feel that they have a safe environment for further discussions that day. So, Images of Organisations is a very flexible tool. It can be used in a number of ways, but the simplest suggestion that we would give at RSVP Design would be to place the images on a table and ask each delegate to choose one or two of those images that say something about their working lives or the team that they currently work in. When they move to their groups, ask them to explain to each other why they chose the images that they did. And again, this will open up discussion and give everyone a chance to speak at the beginning, even those who would maybe otherwise sit back and allow other people to talk. So what does the facilitator gain? Well, using Images of Organisations gives the facilitator the chance to get a little bit of insight into each of their delegates and how they're feeling in their current teams. This can be really useful for moving the training session forward in a positive and productive manner. The facilitator may see the different individuals are experiencing very different things, but all at the same time. So some may be under more pressure than others. Some may realise that one person's exciting change is a nightmare upheaval for someone else. They'll be able to see who needs more support and who might be in a position to offer that support. The images can also be a great lead into how a team can work better together. And perhaps an idea is for the facilitator to maybe highlight an image which all of the team agree at the beginning depicts maybe an ideal team. And this can be something for everyone to work towards throughout the training session. So, just as they are for the facilitator, images can be very helpful for delegates in gaining insight into what their fellow team members might be feeling. It can bring to light several issues that maybe otherwise wouldn't be discussed. Everyone will have their own interpretation of the images, so maybe one person will see something in a positive light, someone else may draw something negative from it. So, as mentioned before, if the images are used at the beginning of the session, it gives delegates something to work towards throughout the training session. They could discuss which of these images represent risks or challenges, what can the team do to build strategies to avoid the risks, how can they deal with them effectively if they do emerge, what do the images say about the team members' values, how are those values represented within the organisation. There's several areas that can be discussed there. Okay, so now I'm going to give you a few examples and ask you, if you will, to tell me what you think each of these images could represent. So in the chat box that David mentioned at the beginning, just to the right-hand side of your screen, if I could ask you to maybe pick one of these three images and just type me a wee comment on what you think that image represents for you, and I'll give you a few seconds to do that. Okay, so I can see a couple of answers coming in. They're great ones. The orchestra, yes, one team together. Does that an image that looks like everyone's playing in harmony? Or is everybody not looking at the conductor? Are they doing their own thing? Someone else, Judith has said, I chose the middle one. We're interconnected. Yes, cogs in a wheel, a well-oiled machine, everyone working together. Harriet said the image in the far left looks like a team supporting each other to achieve a goal, yet maybe it represents a successful outcome after a period of hard work, or perhaps a major project that's been completed and there's maybe a sense of shared achievement. So hopefully this gives you an idea of the kind of things that come up. As I said, there can be positive and negative that delegates will draw from each of the images, but it gives you a good insight. So I hope you can see the real value in using images of organisations in one of your training sessions. I should also mention that we do have other image products that are exactly the same style, but they are topic specific. So we have images of resilience and images of customer experience. At the end of the webinar, you will be given more information on everything that's discussed today. So I'll now pass you over to Laura, who's going to take you through expresspack.
Thank you, Kim. And hello, everyone. I am Laura, and you may have seen me in different webinars, as I usually help with the background stuff. But this time I have been given an opportunity to show you one of our top sellers, which is expresspack. I have used this card deck quite often in my training with students and or teachers, and I absolutely love using image decks. Specifically about expresspack. Expresspack contains 53 cards with various images. On these cards, you can find symbols, actions, sceneries, emotions, etc. So a wide range of cards with both positive and negative feelings attached to them. Cards are the same size as playing cards. Therefore, it is easy to take these with you at any time. I usually have my deck in my bag all the time. You never know when these can come in handy, not only as an icebreaker, but also as a simple, when you need like to facilitate like simple discussion or for a brainstorming event. Here you can see some examples of the cards. We used this image in the end of 2019, and it should show you a clock. So music sheet is 12 o'clock, finance 3 o'clock, Joker is 7 o'clock, and so on. And right now, I will be brave and I will ask you to pick one image that shows how you feel about this webinar so far. So if you could put in a chat box the number according to a clock layout, and I will give you a few seconds to do this. Okay, we have 6, probably like a learning, maybe something. 3 o'clock. 6 o'clock, several things being introduced. 6 o'clock, being curious. Okay, thank you very much for the answers. I was kind of hoping one of you would pick number 8, which is thumbs down, because I think that's a really interesting card. Because if these cards are laid out on a table, then that card would also could show thumbs down. So it's interesting to see how one image can actually show 2 opposite things. So, but thank you for your answers. expresspack can be used in various situations. I already mentioned the simple discussion and brainstorming event, but expresspack and in fact any image-based activity is great for beginners. It is all about questions, so there's no specific rules. It just depends what type of questions you are asking at first. You can use these at the beginning of a training session to recap on the learning points, debriefing, to summarize training in the end of the day. So images are perfect to encourage people to open up, especially if they are shy. Actually, many facilitators have found that images have a completely different impact on people. People are just drawn to visuals. And of course, we can use the deck as an icebreaker, and this is where I will give you 2 examples. So first example for expresspack. You have a group of people, so you would ask each person to choose 2 or 3 images that means something to them. It might inspire a memory, illustrate a particular interest, or perhaps the card is asking a challenging question. And then you would divide the groups in, like the people in smaller groups, like in 3s or 4s. And then these groups would compare and contrast the pictures they have chosen. This is really simple icebreaker. In this way, people are getting to know each other. They're warming up to talking, sharing, and so on. This idea has been taken from our latest blog, 20 Ideas for 2020, which was written by Anne Alder, our training director. And in this blog, she actually gives you 20 examples of great icebreakers to use in your training. So go ahead and check that out after this webinar. Another example for expresspack would be if you have a specific workshop, let's say about innovation. So here, each participant could take 3 to 4 image cards and try to come up with a short story to tell others. It could be up to a facilitator to limit story to a specific theme, like coming up a new product idea, or perhaps idea how we can save planet Earth, or something like that, or just let the fantasy run its course. So this is definitely a fun exercise, as the stories may become really funny to hear. And this also opens up our thinking processes. In general, any image-based activity, and in this case, expresspack, will follow these steps: focus, choose, share, and capture. So first, we focus on the theme of workshop, any specific learning points. Then we will ask participants to choose an image. I ask you to choose an image that shows you how you feel about this webinar. Maybe someone may ask to choose an image that shows how you feel at a very positive moment. If it is team building workshop, then maybe a question would be like, choose an image that shows how an effective collaboration looks like. Once the images have been picked, it is a sharing time. So you may ask participants to share their cards in pairs, then do the same in different pair until they find something common. Or start in 3s and 4s, the same way as in the first example. And this really depends on how big group you have and how much time you have. As this is an icebreaker, you do not want to spend too much time on this. Remember to keep the energy up. And the last point is to capture the thoughts. So this is the point at which you may slowly move into your training session. You may ask questions like, what is common in all those chosen images? Or if it's about team building or collaborating, then maybe what does it look when we are collaborating effectively? Or maybe how do we want to work together going forward? You may write down these answers and use them as you move forward into your training session. And truly, a picture speaks 1,000 words, and an expresspack is an excellent tool to have in your toolbox. So thank you for listening. If you have any questions, you can put them in a chat box or email us. And now I will ask David to continue with icebreakers. And the next one is workstations. David?
Thank you, Laura. Thank you for that. I'm now going to take you through the final icebreaker in this morning's webinar, which is workstations. Now, what is workstations? Well, workstations is a relatively simple team communication activity using cards. It's a matrix-style puzzle, and it uses logic and elimination to find the solution. I say card-based. It has 30 playing cards, along with the instructions for use, along with suggested uses of the cards and the review process as well. And more importantly, it has the answer card as well. It's a very versatile product and very portable, and you can use it in a multitude of situations. For a group size, no more than 8 people per set, and the activity would take approximately 35 minutes plus around about 25 minutes for debrief. So a total of 1 hour to carry out workstations. If you have got a large group of more than 8 people, it is quite straightforward to facilitate using more than one set of cards. And very often this product is used by line managers, and it is actually perfect for use by line managers, as instructions and the uses of workstations are fairly straightforward once you've actually carried out the activity once. So how do you use workstations? Well, the learners are only able to communicate using verbal means. So they're not allowed to write it down, and this is one of the real joys of workstations, what makes it actually quite a difficult but an achievable activity. The share of information around each member of the group has to ensure that everyone has a clear picture. The task becomes clear as it progresses, and the group will gradually begin to understand the task. And at the end of the task, the group provides a facilitator with the 2 missing pieces of information. If you look to the photograph on the right-hand side there of the slide, you will see the actual instructions for use, along with the 30 cards and along with the answer card there at the bottom. However, we'll go into a little bit more detail about this on the next slide. Now, there is the solution card. Now, as I say, there's 30 playing cards. It's absolutely critical that each of the 30 playing cards is actually used. So communication between the group is so important, because there is no one card that is in there that is not required in order to get to the solution. Now, as you can see, it is a process of elimination to get to the answers on the answer sheet at the bottom. So what you're trying to identify using workstations is the building, the name, the job, the car, and the lunch of the 5 people who are at the workstation. So the card is there for the answers, and that will really help you as a facilitator. Once the team actually completes the activity, they go to the facilitator to give the 2 answers, and only when these 2 answers are given is the activity completed. The good thing with workstations is the review process can be reviewed at the end of the exercise, and it's done in 2 ways. It's how does the individual in the group participate doing workstations, and also how did the group behave doing workstations. So it's related to how the individuals would have attempted to remember information and their contribution to the final result. How did they communicate with everybody else? And the team can also be reviewed in how information was managed and shared, and particularly how leadership was exhibited. Now, workstations is excellent for a number of uses, but such as leadership, communications, problem solving, and team development. Workstations has been an activity from RSVP Design for a number of years, and people who use workstations will always tell you it's a lot of fun, it's a great challenge, but it sets you up in a really positive fashion if you've got further training to carry out that day. And many professionals carry about more than one workstations in their work bags because they know it's actually a very straightforward and quick activity to facilitate, which involves and engages a lot of people very quickly. Well, I hope that has been a help to you, and Icebreakers with a Difference has been a help to you, and thank you very much for Laura for taking us through expresspack, for Kim taking us through images of organisation and workstations I've taken you through as well today. And thank you very much for joining. I hope you have found that quite useful. For any of the products we have talked about today, you can get a hold of these products from ourselves here at RSVP Design, and you can get that using our website shop.rsvpdesign.co.uk. Alternatively, please feel free to contact us about any training need that you have that we can support you on at sales@rsvpdesign.co.uk, and we'll be delighted to help you out.